more about that. And then I think you're moving on the land in a very important way. And I think this is a key thing that's also resonating very deeply with me, because there's such a strong tradition of moving on the land in this land, and then probably in all lands, you know, just saying. But
well, just from my own parental experience of immigrating to Canada, I think we always felt like we were, because I mean, from a young age, my sisters and I were my mom and dad's and grandma's translators, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, or we would translate for all the people who worked at the mushroom farm, where English was by far like English as a second language down here, and their family or home language up here. And so I always felt, even now to this day, I think sometimes I wonder about my inabilities to engage in politics in a particular way because of this feeling on the outside all the time. Like, the system works here for the people who have been here, but it doesn't work for the newcomers. You know, you don't understand the laws. You don't understand your rights, medical rights. You don't understand your legal rights, and you don't understand your business rights. So my dad got bullied a lot, owning the farm and stuff. And so I think that, especially for people who come from severe duress, like if they came as refugees or seeking asylum, they really don't trust those rights, even if it's even if it's shown to them. How would you trust the government if the government that you came from is so oppressive, right? So then you get the sense that you're just always walking. It's like it's like that glass bowl, and you're just like always walking, going like this and like this, and I think that because of that hesitancy, then others hesitate, and so there isn't engagement. So then you see a lot of like new immigrants hanging out together because they get that experience, and they can speak in their mother tongue, and then also commiserate over not fitting in. But then, like for example, last night when I was cooking the salad, this Chinese guy was cooking too, and we're talking about like his experience living in Canada. He's been here for 3 years, and he's like, white people, they don't invite you in. Like he was explaining that sense of being never invited. And also probably acting like he doesn't want to be invited because he acted too enthusiastic, which is not Asian at all, right? Like, then you're going to impose yourself, and that's bad manners. So then there's always that sense. So I think that when it comes to such serious things about talking about reconciliation in Canada, or of Canada, that if people are hesitating from the get-go, how the hell can we expect these communities then to show that they care in the way that they think they're supposed to show that they care? Like, it's very complicated. So then it's got to be a different way. Like, it's got to be like a street way, just run into somebody. And Ashok and I had a conversation with this Hong Kong Chinese waiter because he noticed the music that I've grown a weird attachment to, that I'll die with my belt on. But he was asking about it, and then we talked about your music, and then we talked about the walkers, and and it's just that. Like, it wasn't like a big auditorium talk around new immigrants doing it right with reconciliation. It was just like that small interaction that I think it goes a long way, but invisible. They're invisible interactions.
It's something nice to also, we've been talking a lot, is it?
Sorry, I introduced
But to actually carry the indigenous knowledge as well, like you're like literally carrying this knowledge, and it's interesting to me that this becomes a place of connectivity, so that you're able to have these dialogues open up. Because I think a lot about how we have indigenous knowledge, we try to whatever that means, and as many problems as that word has, it does also become a key, and then you have people who are like, racism exists for a reason, or whatever, or like, all the Indians died out, so there is no knowledge here, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So to be a body that carries this knowledge, and that, like literally, people are coming, connecting over this awareness, or you're physically carrying this,
But that does concern me a little bit, or not a little bit, part of it that I hope I'm not inadvertently. Maybe I don't know enough, and I wonder about that. Like maybe when I'm going in, because some of when you're singing your music, I don't know all of the words. Like I don't know the meaning sometimes, so I'm just like I'm mouthing the sound of it, but I don't know the words. And then I think, is there a way that I can? It can be impositional or appropriative, or like I do ask myself that, because that's the last thing I want to do is to cause harm.
If you ever cause harm, like just think about all music. The reason it works, the reason music is it's these sonics that go and hit surfaces and then sound back, echoes back. And we're part of that sort of interplay of listening, responding, resonating, moving, being part of all those waves, sound waves moving. So I don't think there's, I don't think you can appropriate like that. I think, you're part of it.
I'm not saying that you're appropriating it. What I'm saying is, how else do we learn?
Right.
Like you're like learning this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the record of the conversations that you have at the beginning and the record of the conversations you have at the end are also an interesting component of what you're doing. How else do we become elders? Well, we work at it.
And there's going to come a point in your life when you're going to hear some of those words, and you'll know those words. You'll know them. You'll have a deep body sense of what that means, eh? And when those moments happen, you just so that's going to be beautiful. And that's how you learn. That's how kids learn what it means.
And a wider, this is also very interesting. So the theoretical component that I'm sort of picking up on is this idea of global, redefining what actually that is, or this is also maybe a very post-colonial sort of enterprise or whatever, redefining boundaries and redefining relationships and redefining your practices and redefining, to me it's interesting, the movement on land, right, which affords a sense of agency, which the colonial doesn't necessarily afford.
That's right. Definitely, people or people of color, you're right. Yeah.
And then so you have this moving on the land, you have this sort of inherent practice of it's a very concerted effort to learn and be in the vibration. I mean, literally be in the vibration.
Well,
of what this worldview is.
Which is why I said that it would be really good for you to get a song from here and run it there.
Yeah. Yes. I'm also, this idea of cultivation is very big in Japanese culture, probably in Chinese culture. But to practice, so when you first, on my mother's side, I come from a lot of artists. So my great uncle was a master calligrapher, and he had his own school of calligraphy, and he would only take 8 students at a time. And he did the big kind of mock calligraphy too, you had to use your whole body, crazy ass talented guy. Awesome. Very humble, and when you first learn. When you're first learning, you're not supposed to touch anything. You're supposed to just stand and observe, and then after some time you stand, observe, and then you clean up. And then after some time you stand, observe, then you sit down, and then watch. And then after some time you stand, learn, clean up, sit down, you touch your brush. And so this idea of cultivation, it's deeply seated in my family, I think. And my sisters are the same too. You've got to practice something over. You can't just become an expert in it. You have to practice it over and over and over again. And then one day they fall, right? And so that's why I think the distance is important. I don't think I could, if I just ran 100 kilometers, I wouldn't get a sense of the land. If I ran 500, I still wouldn't get a sense of the land. So it has to be something that really taxes and makes the body itself change. And then that's when I might get a sense of the land. So,
Even the thing you said about not knowing is really important. That Neil McLeod talks about it in his book Pre-Narrative Memory, and he talks about you know, he says when the old people will say, "Oh, well, I don't know very much," you know, they'll go, "What do you mean? You're like, you know, 90 years old, and been immersed in this your whole life." And he sort of talks about it. He says the reason they're saying that is it's not false modesty. It is modesty, but it's not false modesty, and it's not just by, you know, just something to say. What encoded in that is the notion that there's so many different ways of seeing and understanding this knowledge. There's so many infinite different ways of being able to work with that knowledge. That they're just saying, I only know from my point of view, from my life, what that thing is, and it's not very much. You know, and that's what the modesty is about. So I think it's, you know, I think it's quite beautiful and poignant that you're also, you know, to have that sense of, you know, I don't know very much, but yeah, from your point of view, that's appropriate.
Interesting things about looking across the line too. The map that you have to, you know, there's the map, so you have to make everything really small and pull right back out. There's parts when I've been back in Vancouver and I've looked at the map, so you see all Vancouver Island and Lower Mainland, and you see where she's run, and it's not insignificant. It's not like a dot. It's an actual thing you can make out. And then you blow it up and see it's from East Van to West Van or whatever, 20 kilometers. It flies as a significant slice, and it looks so small when you look at it as part of the hemisphere, right? And yet it's actually so it's interesting to think about that. You know, across a significant amount of land in that period of time.
One of the things that I was wanting to talk about with all of you guys is how to open it up so if people wanted to participate, because I think that if I were to say to somebody I'm running, say 18K, who's going to join in, right? Even if they really wanted to. So whether I should say today I will walk it, will you walk it with me, or I just didn't know, like, and it's part of that shyness again. I think I just didn't want to impose to say, oh, do you want to? But if people wanted to try, I didn't want to shut that down if the distance is too big. And I it would be nice to walk together or to run together or to just skip or jump. But I didn't know if they had any suggestions or if there's a way that if you wanted to do it together in a way that makes you feel most.
Well, I also wonder if those guys who did the walk kept the records where if
they certainly videoed a lot of the photographs.
Those photos were amazing.
Yeah, they're so amazing.
But to chalk with them would be really
I think so too. I think it's so honored to know that there's a Japanese Canadian woman who's running 1,600 miles around as they walked. I think good for you to be happy to talk to you. Don't be shy. They'll be as shy as you, so it's all good.
I'd love to run or walk.
Sure.
Any day.
That's great. Okay, thank you. We can make a plan.
Leah? You run everything.
Amazing sort
And so it's considered medicine.
Oh yeah, it's like you say, the shape-shifting, all this sort of stuff. There were certain runners who were able to run incredible distances in a very short time. Be like superhuman feats, and we didn't really understand what they did. Getting ideas of shape-shifting, all that sort of stuff.
That run that I did for a performance for Tribe many years ago was about a shapeshifter up in northern Saskatchewan, Justino Ayumi, tobacco bean. That's what it was. He was running during the times when it was, the ceremonies were illegal, and the reason he was called the Justino was the tobacco bean, and it was because he was running tobacco from community to community to get people to say that yes, they would come to these illegal, unauthorized ceremonies. And they said it was amazing that the distance he would travel, and by the time he'd get there, you know, it would be like impossible, and everything would be dry, and the tobacco would be dry, you know, and it was like he had to go over several lakes and rivers, and there no worries, that's all. That happens when you tell stories like that. That's all I'll say. That bottle wasn't So there's lots of stuff that you can kind of grip on.
Yeah, you've given me so much to think about. Thank you very much. Yeah, I love writing it down before.
Yeah, well, it gave the
It's got a video of it.
Oh yeah.
video.
Did you?
We'll review it and it'll just be dancing girls.